Hello everyone. How hard is it to learn to use a firearm? If you listen to the left, there's this pervasive notion out there that you have to have a tremendous amount of training to be qualified to use a firearm. That's simply untrue. You can learn to use a firearm in just about 2 minutes. And I'm going to demonstrate that in this video. Now, I am not ballyhooing the importance of training. Be as well trained as you possibly can. The sky is the limit. You can take college classes on ballistics, for crying out loud. There's a tremendous amount of information out there. But you don't have to have all that training to be proficient with a firearm. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes and show you. But then I'm going to also do it with some other firearms to really help you familiarize yourself with firearms and firearm safety. Okay, before we touch a firearm, we're going to learn the 4 basic rules of gun safety. The first rule is always assume that a firearm is loaded when you pick it up. Even if you know that it's empty, assume that it is loaded. The second rule, don't point at anyone. Make sure that it's always pointed somewhere safe, where if it did discharge, no one would get shot. The third rule, keep your finger off the trigger until you're actually ready to fire. These are pretty easy rules to remember and to obey. The fourth rule, know the target that you're shooting at, but also know what's behind it. You don't want the round to go through it and shoot someone else, or miss the target and shoot someone else. Follow those 4 basic rules, you'll be pretty good. Yes, there are other rules, but they don't always apply. But it's always good to obey all rules of gun safety if it's possible for you to do so. The reason I say it's optional because one of the rules is always use safety glasses and hearing protection. But you can't do that always. If you're at a store and someone goes to assault you and you have to defend yourself, they're not going to wait for you to put on safety glasses and hearing protection. So if you follow those 4 basic rules, you should be good. Okay, now for the firearm portion of this. Once again, we are going to assume that the firearm is loaded. It is not. So we know we have a safe, empty firearm. How do you shoot it? You would take a magazine, put bullets in the magazine. It's pretty simple. Put that loaded magazine into the firearm, keeping your finger off the trigger. You would want to bring a round and put it into battery, taking it from the magazine up into the breech. To do that, you would grab the slide it back, and if there was a round, it will automatically come forward when you release the slide. Now you have a round in battery. You would grip the gun firmly with your finger pointed forward. Your other hand for support you would want to grab. And you don't want to put your thumb back here because it will get sliced open. You want to rotate your thumb forward and aim it forward. So you're kind of like this. Extend your arms, get a good firm purchase on the firearm, look down the sights, and then fire or discharge a round. And then you simply squeeze the trigger again because the firearm would cycle itself and you would just be able to keep shooting until the firearm was empty. You now know how to shoot a firearm. Not that hard. You may say, well, what about something more complicated? Well, here I have something that looks pretty complicated, right? This is a Bullpup style rifle. Pretty amazing firearm. It's a Kel-Tec RDB, and this is pretty similar. Here we're going to take the magazine, eject it, because we are assuming that the firearm is loaded. We're going to check the breech, which I'm doing now, and it is indeed empty. How do you fire this thing? Same thing. Someone hands you the gun and says, here, shoot this. Well, you would take a magazine, put bullets into it. You would insert the magazine, click it in. Now you're good to go. Then, on this particular firearm, you would grab the charging handle and pull it back. Now, if there was a round, the round would have gone from the magazine into the breech, and it is now ready to fire. You would put the firearm into the meat of your shoulder, get a good nice purchase, Keep your finger off the trigger, of course, and grab the fore end of the firearm. Get a good cheek weld. Look down the barrel through your iron sights, your optics, or your scope, and put your finger on the trigger and fire. And once again, this thing would automatically cycle and do its thing until you stop sending rounds downrange. Very easy, but they look complicated. Now, there are more to firearms than just that. You would want to know, how do you properly clean said firearm? How do you store the firearm? There's also a tremendous amount of information out there that you could enjoy learning, but the information isn't paramount in learning how to fire a firearm. So yes, you can learn to shoot a firearm in just a couple of minutes. It's not that complicated. Of course, as I mentioned before, there's a lot to be learned about firearms. You could spend a long time learning the difference between striker fired and hammer fired. You can learn the difference between bluing and parkerizing, or polymer guns versus metal guns. There's so much to learn out there. There are guns that are unique in the way that they are fired or the way that you load them. But each gun you can learn to successfully and properly use in a matter of a couple of minutes. None of them are usually that complicated in the handgun realm, at least, and rifle realm. So you can do so, but I encourage you to do so safely. Always keep those rules of gun safety as priority. If you prioritize safety, that's how you eliminate the accidents, or at least you minimize and mitigate the chance of a negligent discharge actually hurting or killing someone. Having a negligent discharge is bad enough, but if you followed the rules of gun safety, the one that you didn't follow may cause you to have a negligent discharge, but the ones that you did follow will help keep you from killing someone accidentally. And that's really what it is. People that do usually kill people accidentally with firearms, they've failed to follow one of the rules, or more than one of the rules of gun safety. So be safe, be educated, learn, but don't be intimidated. And don't think, well, I have to have a degree, or I have to take hours and hours and hours of gun classes in order to be an expert or be qualified to pick up a firearm. No, you don't. Firearms aren't that complicated, and I hope that I've explained that to you well enough. I hope that you will always be safe, but always be willing to have a firearm in order to enjoy it and to be able to use it to defend yourself. Guns should be fun. They shouldn't be negative things where it's like, oh, I have it just in case I have to kill somebody. No, you can enjoy your firearms. You can enjoy the mechanical nature of them. There's a collectability aspect of firearms. There's the fact that you're learning new things about different types of firearms. There is so many different things about firearms that can bring you enjoyment. That's why it's a sport, and it should be enjoyed for more than just, oh, they're killing machines. It doesn't have to be that way. You can embrace the culture and enjoy it and not be intimidated by guns because A, you're being safe, and B, you're knowledgeable in what you're doing. So really, at the end of the day, just be safe and learn each firearm. Learn the nuances of the firearm, and you should be good to go. So don't believe the left when they try to convince you have to have hours and hours of gun training. You need to become like, I mean, if it was up to them, they'd want everybody to be qualified like a Navy SEAL to own a firearm. And even then, they wouldn't be happy. They still want to take them from us. So enter the sport of firearms with a positive mind, with an open mind, and with a healthy attitude towards safety, and you should be good to go. God bless. Thanks for watching.